against Dole for a couple rounds of Hatebears. I played 6 games against him. I only recorded 3 of them, but I should have recorded the last 3 because those were really, really good. So I kept a hold of the first game I played against him, where I got wrecked by him, and the next next games I won. The end was I won 4 games out of 6. But I wanted to show you 2 games specifically where I won. One where I was really, really fast and won by just being fast, and the second one I won by really grinding it out and playing like really, really smart plays and some lucky draws on my end. Those are the two games that you guys are going to see, and I hope you really enjoy them. Dole is definitely one of the best, if not the best, Hatebears player online. So, you guys, everything that's done here is pretty elite and to the point. So just make sure that you're paying attention to like pretty much everything. Everything was done for a reason. Alright, so I think I'm playing against Hatebears this time around. And I've got a pretty good keep here. I've got myself an experiment 1 plus a way to pump it and another way to pump it next turn. So theoretically I can get the experiment 1 up to a 3-3. I've got a Domri, which is just always kind of cool. Against Hatebears, since I preemptively am guessing it's Hatebears, I'm going to crack this ahead of time. I guess I'm not going to. That would actually be stupid of me because I've got the wrong manas. And luckily it's a friendly game, so we're allowed to do that shit. Since I'm going first, if I was going second, I actually would do it out of order because getting Hatebeared on is stupid. I don't want it to happen to me. So I'm gonna guess Mana Ramp Dude. Mana Ramp Dude. So the question here is, do I crack this and just put out the Tarmogoyf? Or do I put out the Tarmogoyf for next turn? I can put out the Tarmogoyf this turn because he doesn't actually have any way to deal with it aside from being Path to Exiled. And me getting Path to Exiled is not actually a bad thing. Because it'll get me into Knight of the Reliquary, which will also pump my E1. It's a little weird to put out a Tarmogoyf that's like a Squire Tarmogoyf. But it's better than nothing. Plus, if Noble Hierarch attacks, me and Tarmogoyf do this nice little I don't care thing. Spellskite! Bird's Paradise. Useful use of turn. So I'm going to attack here. He could block with the Spellskite. I don't see why he would. But he can. I'm okay with that. I got a couple options here. The reason why I'm attacking like so is just so that I still have options for Borostrom. I could have put out Loomline right away and then had the Lightning Helix ready. But I want to scare him. I want to put the fear in him. Add a counter and call it a day. I mean, we're already threatening him at a pretty low life total, plus we have him at technically 7 damage here, so that brings him down to 6. So depending on what we see, I mean, yeah, he could redirect to Spellskite. Cool. If he paths, I'm going to just go ahead and bolt the Leonardo Arbiter. That Arbiter. If he does anything that makes me lose, like, a land, I'm going to kill the Arbiter. Because it actually puts him down. Oh, I guess I can't put down the Arbiter. I can't bolt down that Arbiter. I can only hit a Spellskite, so that would be stupid of me. I could main phase attack. Oh, I've got a lot of bolt mana. I might just use it to kill him. This is where things start going not my way. So we've got a Skite blocking that, a Leonard Arbiter blocking that, and that's it probably. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just use the Lightning Helix right here on the Spell Skite. I don't even want him to have a chance of redirecting it. And that's gonna pump up my Tarmogoyf. So my Tarmogoyf is gonna live here. Ooh, he Path to Exiles! He tricked me! Tricky, tricky! Totally. I'm still dealing 2 damage at least. But it does make him a little worse for wear. While I'm still not up in quote-unquote creatures, I still have enough to deal 1, 2, 3, 7, bring him down to like 5. Just over time. He can attack, he totally can. He can attack for 2 in the air, or he can attack for 4 on the ground. But it does leave him a little bit open. I'm trying to think here. If he attacks, it's good for me, I think. My life total is not actually close to death. It'll just closer to even us out. I do still have more cards than him. If I draw a land, then I can Domri and attack something, quote unquote, with my Domri. Make my Domri tell my creatures to kill things. I always wondered the flavor of that, right? I put out Domri, and I'm basically doing Domri's job of telling my creatures what to do. But is that the Domri then is saying that it's got a better handle over what to do for me? Yeah, blowing up my land seems like a fine thing to do here. Probably want to blow up my my Sacred Foundry, because that stops Path from happening. Waiting on my turn to do it seems like a bad idea. Blowing up my Sacred Foundry is an option. It does leave him a little, well, not really mana screwed, because he's got like Noble Hierarchs. I would hit the Sacred Foundry. If he hits the Stomping Grounds, it's actually, I think, worser on his on, because it makes any path I draw alive. Well, that's a lot of mana. Is he putting out a round? Sure. Gore Clan Rampager. He could have came earlier. Man. I'm attacking here. I mean, it's not optimal. That mana screw really got me towards the end, I think. Really what it was the path. That path destroyed me. Loses 1 life. I can bring him not to enough. I'm just gonna go ahead and Lightning Bolt right now. The hope is that he just holds back his creatures. There's no real reason for him to. I mean, he can swing for 6 and like basically put me down to 2 higher than him. I gotta draw a basic forest or not a fetch land to be having anything to do with the Gore Clan Rampager. Kusai Pride Mage just pumps in this matchup. Oh my god! That's gross! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Gross. Lightning Helix won't do it. Yeah, it's game. That's basically game. Concede. If I got an extra mana there, it might have been all right. But I didn't, so it wasn't. Combust goes in. Chain to the Rocks goes in. Kitchen Finks does not go in. Boros Charm comes out because he's got no real... the only thing he's got is a Path to Exile. Domri... dude, does Domri stay in? I don't think Domri stays in. Domri's nice and all. He's got creatures to deal with it. I don't want to get rid of my aggression, so I think Domri comes out. So the reason why I added took out the 2 E1s and I added the Destructive Revelries in is because he plays Worship. I ran across that a lot now, that a lot of Hatebears are just running like 2 of Worship and some Thrun in their sideboard to basically counteract Zoo if they can get the game going long enough. So that's my reasoning for doing that specifically. I cut out the E1s because they become more unreliable if you take out anything else out of the core, and that's what I'd have to take out is the creature core. So E1s, while being very powerful, are the weakest of your creature cards. So they're the most quickly to get cut. I needed the buffness that I get from neither Reliquary or Gore Clan Rampager or Tarmogoyf during this matchup, so that I could go into the mid-range. Just having straight aggression wouldn't be enough for me to win. Although, it does do well in this matchup because I do draw an extra Wild Noctowl, and I know from experience, if you have 3 Wild Noctows, you're hard-pressed to lose. I mean, you're just swinging for 9 damage on turn 3, and I don't really have any good way to interact with it, sans, like, blowing them up all at once, especially when I was on the play like I was for this matchup. And it's just like, it just shows that the aggression can go a long way. I mean, a Voice of Resurgence is kind of, normally would scare me, but when I've got the fact that none of my creatures will die for it, I could Rampager over it. I've got Lightning Helix and Knight of the Reliquary in my hand. I don't think I've got any real way to lose. The only way I really can lose here is to get Engineered Explosives or Worshipped, but both are really slow right now. Getting in even 1 attack against that's still enough. And it does leave me pretty clear as day here. You'll see Engineered Explosives, in like later on games, it does become like a problem, but if you can outspeed Engineer Explosives or hold the cards in your hands, it's worth it. I played a total of 6 games with Dole, and I was able to hold the Engineered Explosives once and force him to pop it early. And another game, I made him pop it during attacks, so he would lose his Rancor as well. It was just like a kind of a weird thing I ended up having to do. As you can see, again, Engineered Explosives for 1, he's able to do it turn 3 on the draw, which is not the best. I'm going to have already out another Reliquary because I expected some kind of hate like that. Neither Reliquary was also going to get me a Wolf Run if I needed it. Plus I've got the Gore Clan Rampager. So just swinging here all out, he is obviously going to block here. This will net me 1 more damage overall when I get the Gore Clan out. So that's why I didn't use it last turn. It was just better to have neither Reliquary out and not get blown out by like some kind of Engineered Explosives. It's just going to be totally too fast of a game. Getting out 1 Experiment 1 is going to be enough for me here. Because if I even go through with 1 damage next turn, if he puts out 1 creature to block me and I get out 1 damage next turn, then I'll win. I've got the bolt in hand. So even his body just being a 1/1 is like... His options are he can either do a Luxon Smiter and put in a tapped land and lose. He can do a Thrund and try to trade for my Knight of the Reliquary. But I still hit him for 1 and then he loses. You could put out a Noble Hierarch and take some damage and put out a Wordship, bring him down to 2. Then I'm just going to go ahead and bolt his Noble Hierarch and kill him. He's really good. It's just a catch-22. There's absolutely nothing he can do right here. He takes a long time to think in the tank about those options and which would be the best, and none of them work. The Wordship deal is actually really tough. If I had to kill something and then I got him down to like 1 life and then he Worshipped and had Thrund out, I don't think there's a way I could win. Sans top decking like another removal spell. Worship's good for you if you can manage to go ahead and like block it, or if you can go ahead and manage to remove all of their creatures. If you got things like Volcanic Fallout in your sideboard, it becomes way better for you because you can just wipe their board and then kill them. at the same time. Because it deals 2 damage to each creature and player, so it does it like all at the same time. So he'll have no creatures out, and his life will be at 0, and then he'll die, even with the worship out. And this doesn't work for him either, because now I'm just going to attack, remove all of his creatures. I only really attack for value here. There's really no other reasoning for it. I knew he had to block the Luxodon Smiter with my 5/5 Knight, or, yeah, do it like that. That's fine, too. I could Rampage her over if I had that. I have Helix. I just wanted to make sure there was, like, no weird Dismember or something crazy that he had going on, so just there was no reason not to attack to force his resources, and then just Lightning Helix. Later on, he's going to show me here that he's got the Worship. That's just that. Worship plus Thrun really will just kill you. That's sort of their oops, I win button against Zoo. It's not really an oops, I win button. It's like an oops, I can't lose button. But then they eventually get out a flyer and they just attack and kill you. That's the way that matchup goes. Going on to our next replay over here. This one's the longer one. I'm kind of sad I didn't record these ones. But this is a really, really grindy matchup. This is kind of shows you what happens when the Hatebears deck gets to do what it wants to do, and how you have to really grind out that fight and play smart. I also want to show this one specifically because this was one of the better matches I've had in a really, really, really long time. So I got to thank Doll for that. It's just we were both deep in the tank for pretty much all of it. So I'm cracking a fetch here. The reasoning being is he might have a turn 2 Leonardo Arbiter, and in that case it might have been better for me to crack the Arid Misa for a Sacred Foundry, and then I could put down a Forest and still have ways to put out stuff. That'd probably be the better play overall. I ended up going for the Stomping Ground because I just wanted to, just in case he didn't have a better mana outlook, especially long game wise. I would much rather have the Stomping Ground than I would have had the Sacred Foundry. But I knew I still had to remove the Leonardo Arbiter from past games anyways, like as soon as possible. So I might as well just use the Combust right here. I wouldn't want to do the Path to Exile because then that puts him up on lands and he could like turn 3 Limvala me, which he's got in his hands, or turn 3 Engineer Explosive with Path up or whatever. It's just not something I was looking forward to. So I have a choice here now. My choice is to either Loom Lion, or my choice is either to Tarmogoyf and Path to Exile, or to Loom Lion and Tarmogoyf. And I decided to go to the Loom Lion Tarmogoyf so that way I can have more damage on the board early on, which to me is more important to get him down some points. And have my tempo a little stronger than his, rather than giving him land that he could ramp into something like a Baneslayer right away. He also doesn't have the best lands in the world. Horizon Canopy is going to take him 1 damage at a time. I know he's running at least like 8 non-green white giving fetch lands, or kill lands, whatever they're called, like Wastelands, Ghostlands, and Tectonic Edges. So me giving him a better mana wasn't on my agenda just yet. And I could Path to Exile while attacking next turn, so that was something that I knew that I could do. He's got Rancor here, and Rancor does actually really annoy me in this matchup because it stays the entire game from here on out. Rancor does exist in his life. But it's really what in the end is going to do it, and you gotta like watch his mana base. His mana base really is what kills him in the end. He has a great game B plan, which is a lot of land destruction. In fact, it screwed me in past games, as you guys saw. But it does limit the amount of spells he can play per turn, which makes my long game a little bit better because he can only 1-for-1 me. And now it sounds weird, but I do have a Tarmogoyf out, and I do have a Knight of the Reliquary in my hand, so I do know that I am going to have better, or I should say stronger creatures than him for a while. he top ends really at 4/4s, and they're good 4/4s, but like Knight of the Reliquary can be like, I don't know, mill matchups I had at 14-14 before. So Knight of the Reliquary can be Eldrazi strong occasionally. Now you see the reason why I tacked into this. This is a little weird. I was hoping that he'd pop the Engineered Explosives while my attack goes through, rather than take the damage. And it's better for him to block the Tarmogoyf here, and then pop the Engineered Explosives afterwards, because it leaves me with an empty board. So what I've got to do here is, now that he didn't take my bait, and good job, Dole, for not taking my bait, I was hoping that I would get rid of the Rancor, and it would just, my Tarmogoyf would live through and kill the Kitchen Finks. So him cracking the Engineered Explosives here kind of brings us back down to 0. Puts him up a land, puts me down 2 creatures, but in the end of the day, I have a Knight of the Reliquary, which is going to be, I believe, a 4/4 out at least, maybe 5/5. It's a 5/5. And a Tarmogoyf, which is big. Tarmogoyf is going to be a 4/5 now. I think it stays 4/5 for the rest of the game. Knight of the Reliquary is going to be a 5/5. I don't think it lasts very long, but it does die eventually. I think if I look ahead, he's pathing to exile my my Knight, which he's got to do. Linvala is good here, especially with the Rancor. The Rancor is like is, I know from reading Dole's threads, like one of his like secret techs. It's really good against fairies. It's really good that he can overrun Jund and stuff with it, and other mid-range decks. He can get over the hump with walls. It's like cheap swords, so he can still play his creatures while having swords. Swords would actually be worse here, because then he would have to play Linvala this turn and not be able to Rancor, so it would get me in for another bunch of damage. A lot of damage, actually. And then it would... he'd have to play it and attach it again. Then it would be an upside for him. But it does actually save his life right here, being able to, he can block. And I know he's going to be taking at least some damage off of his lands. That's something that I can count on with the Hatebears matchup, that I'll do that. Drawing a Destructive Revelry here, while it's not its purpose to kill Rancors, is worth it. I have no clue he's got a Path to Exile on his hand. I know he's got 1 land and 1 card in hand, so there could be a Path to Exile. Either way, I've got to risk it. I can't let this 4/5 Flying Linvala shut down my Knight of the Reliquary and also fly up above me and kill my creatures. He could then, you know, kill my Knight of the Reliquary, leaving me with a 4/5 Tarmogoyf. So what I decided to do here is I decided to Destructive Revelry the Rancor. And that's not going to make it go into the graveyard. It's not going to go into the graveyard. It's going to go back into his hand. Well, it's going to go into the graveyard and then jump back into his hand, right? That's how it works, or is it an instead effect? Yeah, it's an instead effect. So I'm just doing this, and then what's going to happen there is then I'm going to be able to trade for it. He ends up getting the better half of the deal because he can Path to Exile my my Knight. I still plug in 2 damage, 6 damage from him with this. And that's still going to bring him down a lot and even us our life totals out from the damage that I was taking with my hand, or my lands. That Destructive Revelry really helped out. It just bought me a turn, really, is what it is. Then I was able to use a, hold on a second. Then I was able to use a, sorry, I was on at my door for a second. I was able to use my Curried Ape and still have the creature advantage of what's on the field. He still gets a 3/4 flyer, but it still is going to take him another turn to put that Rancor back into play, and I know that he's out of paths, so that gives me a plus end. Tarmogoyf is still big, and that's important. Him drawing the land here, not the best thing in the world for him. I'm going to go ahead and just scooch that over there, because this is still playing right now. So that's good for us. He goes ahead and plays the Rancor. Again, this is a grindy matchup. There's not really much commentary I can do on it. He's threatening us. He can't attack, because then on the off swing, we'll eventually beat him down with more damage. Again, grindy. You guys are just in for the grind. We both draw a land, which is bad for us. It's actually maybe a little bit better for me, because he has land kill spells that are ready to be used. He's got at least 2, and it will mana fix me. And you'll notice that I do play smart with my mana. I don't even swing with the Curdape there. I don't want to trade my Curdape. I'd rather trade my Tarmogoyf there for the kill for the Linvala. It will just be better overall, especially because the Rancor will bounce back to his hand, and it'll be worser for him, and I'll forcing him to pop his lands. Hopefully he's drawing blanks off of them, which he can. I'm going to crack this in response because I just don't want even the chance of him drawing a Mind Sensor. And it does bring his lands, like he's got good lands in hands now, but I'm sort of like making sure I'm getting the correct mana here for me to avoid being mana screwed or color screwed because of his lands. You'll see that I have 1, 2, 3 different red sources, 1, 2, 3, 4 different green sources, and 1, 2, 3 different white sources. So it leads me to basically still be able to cast anything I have at hand, and my Curdape is got the 4th amount, so the higher amount, so that way it does not become stupidly small anytime soon. And he's bricking here. He's just drawing a lot of kill lands, which are good, especially like right now when you're trying to like ruin what I've got. And that's what he's ended up doing. What he's going to do is you're going to notice he's going to be targeting my white. And the reason why is because he wants to take away my access to Path to Exile. He knows one of the best maneuvers I've got against his worship plan is to Path to Exile. Gore-Clan Rampager is good here. I've got this in case I need to, whatever, he Sun Lances or something crazy like that. But I'm still gonna, my game plan is to cast the Gore-Clan because it's got 4 toughness and it attacks for 4 trample. And it's just gonna do more damage overall by leaving it there. The Horizon Canopy was really good as a one-of right there. It was part of my extra slots that I've got just because it made sure that in late game I'm not just dripping in bad lands where I just don't need mana anymore. And there goes the Ghost Quarter. He's still got the block up for the Luxodon Smiter. I think this is the game here. I've got enough so that you'll see that I got my red source again, making sure that I just have lands to do what I need to do. I draw the Tarmogoyf. It's a great draw here because Tarmogoyf is 4/5 and that's bigger than everything except Neither Reliquary in this deck currently. I'm offering the trade with the Luxodon Smiter. I don't necessarily mind if he decides to block the Curdape so that he can sort of pull double duty, which is better in the blind if he doesn't think I've got Tarmogoyf in my hand. He'll block the Curdape. It'll deal 4 damage to him, allowing me next turn to have 2 4/4s out, and if he draws no creature, then I kill him. It also helps that basically I've land screwed him at this point, where his lands are dealing a lot of color screw to me, but they're going to go ahead and make sure he can't play more than like 1 spell a turn. So that's a good play. That's actually the correct play, I think. Luxodon Smiter, just in the blind to block the Curdape. Yes, you can block the Gore-Clan Rampager and trade, but then I'm still going to be hitting you for 2 and you're at like a lower life. Scavenging Ooze is a good draw here. I don't remember how he plays this. I think he ends up playing the Scavenging Ooze and Rancoring his Luxodon Smiter, and that's how he goes. I knew he's in the tank for a long while. I'm thinking that he's got the Worship in his hand. That's like what I'm thinking. I'm like, I've got to top deck a Path or I lose to Worship. It literally, if he just plays a Worship here, taps out, plays a Worship, and then that's it, I can't win. There's just, the only way I can win is top decking a Path, which I'm assuming what he was doing because he was getting rid of all my white lands. Other than that, there's really no option that I've got. So I'm just gonna fast forward because he's in the tank. I guess I can't fast forward right now. Oh well. So he's in the tank for a long while about it. He's probably thinking, in truth here, whether he wants to play Scavenging Ooze, take 2 life from the Temple Garden. So Scavenging Ooze, take 2 life from the Temple Garden, and then gain a life. Or I guess take 2 life from the Temple Garden and Rancor one of them. If he Rancors the Luxodon Smiter, he can trade my Goyf. But this still will do 2 damage to him and kill him. If he just puts out the Scavenging Ooze and puts out, like, any version of a tapped land, then I'm going to go ahead and attack and trade with him. And I'll still have a Goyf by the end of it, regardless. And then that puts me up still a creature, and also on top decks, I'll also have a card in hand at some point. And I'll also have the life, you know, if I draw like any form of burn, he's dead. If I draw a Gore Clan Rampager, he's dead. In the end, he decides that he's got to risk it, and he plays, let's see here. He plays the Razorverge Thicket, taps it down, puts out a Scavenging Ooze, and he probably could get rid of my my white source here if he wanted. I think he's got the ability to get rid of my white source, he just doesn't. I can draw the Gore Clan Rampager and that's over. There's no way he can block successfully in that situation. Even if he were to block the Gore Clan and I pump the Gore Clan with the Gore Clan, 2 Gore Clans, then I still go over. And that's the smarter thing. I think about it for a little bit. I'm thinking about putting it on Tarmogoyf. I end up putting it on Gore Clan because even if he's got some crazy thing to do, that'll mean this Gore Clan will survive the Luxodon Smiter, and I'll be able to have this survive that attack, so I'll still be up 2 creatures even if he somehow like survives this turn. And that's that matchup. If you're going to be playing against a Hatebears deck. Gore Clan Rampage is great. It runs over their Kitchen Finks. It runs over pretty much everything in their deck, all their chumps, all their aces. So it's great because it continues to push in damage. Change of the Rocks again acts like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Path to Exile, while we're on it, Path to Exile is great too. It gets rid of pretty much everything that they could do. You have control of like the early game, and as long as you're applying pressure when they start throwing out their bombs, if you got Path to Exile and Chain to the Rocks and Gore Clan Rampager, you can just go right over it. On the flip side, things like Volcanic Fallout and Pyroclasm are really good against them too. Ironically, better against them as a mid-range deck than us as a early deck, because it kills their mana ramp, and they need that mana ramp, especially with the Suicidal Mana Base, the fact that they kill their own mana base to make sure that you don't have any lands. And Molten Rain also helps on that. Like, they kill their own lands, so you can color screw them pretty easily by doing a Molten Rain. Still gets you pushed through damage-wise for the 2 damage, and it delays their longer game or the mid-game and keeps the mid-game in early game for you, so you can continue to apply pressure while they still are like kind of back on their heels. That was the Hatebears matchup. I hope you guys learned a trick or 2 from it, and remember to feed the animals.